I absolutely love the kangaroos that everybody did a few weeks ago. And I told you that we'd be revisiting animals soon. I think it's sooner than I thought. I not just myself, but I mean, everyone that's seen them on social media or shown them to other people were just amazed at how they turned out. You know, and again, you know, drawing animals is not the easiest thing, but they definitely are easier than drawing people because we get a little bit of leeway since we don't know exactly what they look like. They're not going to mind if they look a little angry or tired or old. So they're a little bit more forgiving. So for today, we are doing the elephant, and it's a side, the profile of the elephant, and it's very specific. So this is a photograph, it's not a drawing, but since it's in black and white, it's kind of an easy interpretation. And I'm going to show you, this is probably going to be a little bit faster than some of the other projects that we've done. But as always, you know, it depends on how far you want to carry it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about pencils before we start, just so that you know what you're working with. And I'm going to show you kind of what they look like. So your most regular pencil is called an HB, and I know I've gone through this again, but you know, it doesn't hurt. HB is kind of just the regular pencil that everybody uses, and it's an all-purpose. It's fine, it's good. It's the one thing with pencil is that it's never going to go black, because if you look at the lead in it, it's a gray. So that's as far as it's going to go. And from that, you get H pencils and B pencils. H are hard pencils, B are bold pencils. And the H pencils are not a pencil that you would typically use unless you're doing extremely fine detail or doing very specific architectural drawings. It's very light and it's very hard as in the consistency of it. So I like B pencils, and they go with numbers. So for example, this is a 4B. Where's the camera? Okay, this is a 4B, and this is kind of a chunky big pencil. I really like this one a lot. So it's got a nice big tip to it that will give you a lot of nice shading. And the one that I really like a lot is, it's called a Lumograph. So, and this is actually, it's not like a fancy pencil or anything. So this is basically graphite, which is like what is in a pencil, but it has carbon added to it. So what the carbon does is that it's giving it a darker color. So you do get a black. So for those of you that like to have like really strong, bold drawings, that's kind of the pencil that you want. And, you know, let me know if you want me to send you the name of it. But it's the one that will be black. And sometimes they come in pencil sets, drawing pencil sets. Another thing you might want to consider if you're going to do a lot of pencil drawing is a paper stump. Basically, this is rolled up paper, and it's used for blending and detailing, and you can, you know, sharpen it, or just with a knife, you can get a tip. So you can see, here's the used one, here's the one that's not used. I mean, I don't use these a lot. Sometimes, you know, very fine detail might require me to use it, and I'll show you how to use that throughout. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of what these different pencils do and the effect that you will have. So the first one, I kind of just started this. So this one is done with the 4B pencil, which is the bold, soft graphite, which was this big chunky pencil. And you can see the effect is soft. It's because the lead itself, it's soft, you can actually blend that with your fingers. You can get a lot of nice detailing with that. Your darkest tones are never going to get that dark. So you have to work really lightly on your drawing and probably leave some white areas that typically you wouldn't. Okay, so I'm going to show you what the Lumograph does, which is the pencil that is graphite but has a little bit of carbon in it, giving it the black color. So you can see in the dark areas, I'm able to get some really dark tones. And I really like this pencil a lot. It's a little bit harder than graphite, which means it'll not give you a lot of finger or tool blending, but it really gives you very nice dark marks, and it moves, you know, it moves kind of fast. It's different than a Prisma or a colored pencil. It's not as creamy, and it gives a little bit more kind of, shows the texture of the paper a little bit. I really like how this one works. And then what you can also do is you could use both together. So you still have the softness of the graphite of the B pencil, and you can get the sharpness with, you know, the Lumograph pencil. And of course, another thing you could do, which we will eventually do more of a longer session, is do an ink drawing with hatching and cross hatching. And that's really fun with something like the subject, because you do have a lot of texture, you do have a lot of wrinkles, and the form is pretty simple. And because there's a lot of texture on the elephant with the skin, it really is kind of a field day to use an ink pen with that. And it's almost like you can't go wrong with what you're going to do. So those are the different things that you can do with the different pencils and the drawings. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be using the darker pencil, because that's going to show best on the demonstration. But whatever it is you have, regular pencil, colored pencil, you know, everything works. It's basically the same technique. So we're going to go to the camera, to the easel. Okay, so looking at the elephant, the very first thing you want to be careful with is you want to make sure that you find the furthest point, and that's going to be the tusks, and you kind of want to start around there. The reason you want to do that is you don't want to do all the work with the ear and the front leg and then realize that you're going to have to go off the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very gently place the tusks. Remember that I am always drawing a little bit darker than I want. Your initial marks should only be dark enough for you to see them, but I'm doing them darker so you can see them. And I'm going to just, it's almost like there's like this, almost like crescent shape. Again, keep your initial lines really light and loose. And then I am going to put in the trunk, because it seems there's a very specific, easier shape to see. So now to determine the distance between the trunk and the leg, you've got this negative space, which is the space that is occurring between the trunk, the leg, and the ear and the bottom part of the face. And honestly, if you just follow those, like really, really look closely. Okay, so I have an initial placement for it. I think it probably would need to come a little bit lower, but so I'm gonna just go in a little bit. So every time you go to an area for the second time, make sure that you do some adjustments. Don't take it for granted that you did it right the first time. And there's like really nice little ridges that would be fun to work with. And as the head goes up, the shape starts changing, a little bit of a hum. Okay. This was a little bit too high. I'm going to pull it in. I'm going to place the eye just slightly. Okay. So again, I'm looking at the area between the trunk and the bottom of his chin, or whatever it might be. So see, with my second line, I kind of pulled it down a little bit because that area seemed to be a little bit short. And the ear hangs just a little bit lower than the chin. I'm calling it a chin because I don't know what it actually is. Okay. I'm gonna pull this area in a little bit where his little bit of his back leg is showing. And I'm going to revisit the trunk. And notice there's no straight lines whatsoever. I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. I think it was missing some of the length. Again, I'm going back to this side. You know, the shape kind of goes to the left and then it kind of is going to the right. He's holding something in there, or it looks like a splash of water. I'm not going to include it. I think it would be a little too distracting. I'm going to pull the ear in a little bit closer because this space looks to be a little bit wide. Okay, so I think we have most of the elements that we're going to work with. I can see that the tusks need to be pulled down a little bit more. Zane? Sorry about that. I guess my son did not realize that I have class. Okay, so we pretty much have everything that we are going to be using. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to start darkening, putting in the dark areas, the darkest that you see. Before that, like I told you, I'm going to pull the tusks down a little bit. So this one is going to go away. I can erase it later. And the other one goes a little bit. Okay, so the next step, like I said, I'm going to identify my darkest areas. And we can see there's a really strong shadow over here. Justin, I think someone is not muted. There's some distortion a little bit. And so we've got this area over here, and that's going to help bring out the ear. We've got this area over here where the ear is meeting with the head, right under where the tusk starts, and underneath that where the trunk is, and then down along the trunk. Okay, so I'm going to use the side of the pencil, and I am going to start putting in some darker tones. And when you do this step, don't go with the maximum darkness, even if the area is extremely dark, because, you know, we're still building the drawing. And what if you have to move this area entirely and you're stuck with a very dark area that you have to move? And you don't want to have to do that. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. And at this point, the shading, you know, you could use the side, you could use the tip, you could go with a circular motion. It just depends on your pencil. You have to see what is going to give you kind of a smooth texture, just because you're not doing the texture yet. So you want it to be kind of basic. And we've got this area under here. You see, anytime you put in a shaded area.
What pencil are you using now?
It's the same one.
But well, I forgot. I missed what you said at the beginning.
It's a dark pencil. It's
B or
called
H
a
or
Lumograph.
something.
It's a B, it's a 6B.
I don't know. Okay,
Okay,
never mind.
all right. Justin, can you make sure that all the mics are muted? I don't know that he hears me. Okay, and again, we're still identifying the darkest areas. And while you do this, also try to see how you can improve on the shapes. I think the ear could stand to be a little bit closer. So I'm just going to pull it forward. You see you're getting some really dark tones underneath here. Okay, so keep on putting in the dark areas. We've got these areas over here. A slightly less dark one for the trunk and all these areas. Okay, so let's do that for a few minutes.
I have a question.
Just 1 second. Same. Come here. Come here, quick. Okay, sorry, I know someone had a question.
Yes, it's me, Joanne.
Yes, Joanne, yes.
I see your drawing that you're working on, and I see the little squares of everybody that's in this group, but I don't know how to see the drawing of the elephant that you're drawing from.
Justin, can you tell her how to do that?
You should. What are you seeing right now? Because everyone should be seeing the elephant in their main screen. Does everyone see that? Or most people see that? Or
I see the elephant that she's working on.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't see the drawing.
Oh, no, you're supposed to have that on either printed out or on another device. You're not going to see both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you have like your phone or something that you could have it on. Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now I'm moving into more of my middle tones, which are the kind of the medium shades. And what you want to do when you're doing that is you want to make sure that you mind the light areas, because they're going to help give a lot of shape. So we see over here over the eye, this is a light area. This is a light area. It's slightly more rounded. The ear over here and the tusks and a little bit in the eye area. Okay, and I'm kind of working fast just to get some ground covered. I'm just going to go real light in this area.
Noelle, are you making little circles or just lines?
They're just lines.
Okay.
They're just, you know, use the side because it will give you a lot of,
Right.
a lot of volume. So far I haven't done any lines at all except for when I started. So again, especially when you get to the edges, make sure that you are shaping. Yeah, you can, I mean, you can go back and forth like this. You can do a circular motion. I think, you know, each person ends up having a preferred method of shading, especially when you're just filling in, you know, color or tone. It also depends on how smooth you want it or not. So again, this is going to be lighter. And since I'm here, I can see that I can actually go quite a bit darker in here. And I'm just giving it a little bit of those little deep areas. Okay. And you know, if you're doing a back and forth, what you can do afterwards, if it turns out too rough, the next time you go, just go in another direction and it will kind of smooth it out for you. And kind of the middle of the ear has some lighter patches. Okay, so this is a really nice dark area in here. And you can see how it's going to bring everything forward. So I'm using the side. And again, I am not going with the maximum darkness because the more you work, you will start seeing more areas, and towards the end is kind of when you decide what areas are the ones that need to be the darkest. I am going dark in the dark areas, but not with maximum force. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to work a little bit on the eye, give it a little bit of detail. So, you know, at first kind of when you look at it, it just looks like a bunch of swirls. It's important to identify where the darker areas are in it. You know, you kind of want to forget that you're drawing an eye and just go. So I'm seeing over here to the right, it's dark, lightens up. And then there's a few defining lines underneath. And a few identifying lines on the top. And just go softly with these. Don't make them too sharp, too severe, because, you know, you want them to have kind of that wrinkled, broken down feel to them. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of the eye. So the next thing we want to talk about is the texture on the elephant. So when we did the kangaroo, we had fur, which, you know, is always an added kind of job when you're drawing in animals to get that right, and it's a big part of the animal's personality. So with the elephant, we have tons and tons of wrinkles. So wrinkles are not hard to do. There's a huge difference when you are drawing wrinkles on a person. And, you know, people of all ages could have wrinkles or lines or marks that show, you know, personality, character, age, etc. And when you're drawing people, you want to be careful with the lines because they could be too harsh. They could make a person look angry. They could make a person look a lot older than they are. Luckily with the elephant, we don't have to worry about that because it's such a big part of the character. So the reason I'm telling you that is that typically when you're drawing a person and you're putting in the wrinkles, you're going to draw around the lines. But with the elephant, what we're going to do is we are going to be putting in the lines and then we're going to shade on top of them because we do not need them to be that soft and delicate. So I would start by putting in the major lines. And the most important thing here to make it look convincing is to look at the direction of the lines and also look at the intensity of them. When they're getting light, you want to go lighter on your pencil. When they're going dark, you want to go heavier and darker with your pencil. Okay, so let's move on to the trunk. Now, in the trunk, they're very clear. You've got the major lines are horizontal, and then you've got some softer vertical ones. So make sure that you make a distinction between the weight of the line and the thickness, the lightness and darkness of it. So I'm going to start with the ones that are popping out the most to me. And at the same time, these are going to help shape the trunk. So remember that the line is actually going around to the other side. So if you start it almost like a little bit higher, like it's coming from the other side, it's going to be a much more convincing line. See, I'm starting just a little bit over where I want the line. And you can see here, they're going down a little bit. See, again, I'm just starting it a little bit higher. See that? Almost like it's wrapping around the trunk. And again, you know, nobody's counting, so you can put as many or as few lines as you want. And then at the bottom here, they start kind of blending in and becoming more of a mass rather than lines. I'm just going to put a little bit of shading. Okay, let's move up here. Go back. And this is a good time to kind of judge this distance and see if it looks right. I'm just going to pull it in just a little bit. There's some soft lines up here. Okay, so as they move up here, the lines are becoming vertical. And they're kind of wrapping around his face. And just really, really nice, really pretty waves of different, you know, thickness of lines. So down here is when the lines start kind of breaking up a little bit and you get a little bit more of kind of more of a rounded feel to them, almost looks pebbled. And again, you know, just draw what you see. Whatever it is you're seeing is what you should be drawing. Okay. So I'm going to work a little bit on the trunk on this side, and you can clearly see the folds that are occurring with the wrinkles. And they're like little ridges. And again, you know, it's not a pattern and it's not something that you want to do the same size or thickness for. Kind of try to see, and there's a line, there's almost like a seam that goes through here. You see, that gave it a lot more shape. Before I go any further, I'm just going to darken some of this over here. I'm going darker. And whenever you work on a dark area, you know, just make sure that you blend it in with the next area. You don't want it to be too severe unless you're actually working on something that is black and white, like you're moving from a black area to a white area. But if it's all within the same area, make sure that your transition is smooth. Okay, so I'm going to go back to these. See, that kind of really helped show these.
I can't see the video stopped.
Did your internet go out or something?
Yeah, my video is stopped. I can see Noel.
Here you go. I'll activate your video.
Thank you, Justin.
Okay, how do I start it? I don't know.
You should be prompted to start your video.
What?
You should be prompted to start your video. I just sent you a request for your video.
I started again?
Yes. You don't have to go outside the meeting, but you should be able to start your video again.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, so next we're going to work a little bit on the vertical lines over here. And again, they're a little bit lighter than the ones that we put horizontally. And then if you see any more that are horizontal, you can put them in. So you're almost getting like a slight crosshatch. So these over here just have that same nice wave. Let's work a little bit on the eye. And what you can do if you have it on a device, if you're able to zoom in and look at the detail in the eye, that's usually quite helpful, because sometimes, you know, you just, until you get used to drawing the eyes, you want to make sure that you don't kind of guess what they look like. So I'm going to start working a little bit more detail in the eye and the lines that are around the eye. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the core in here. I'm going to go a little bit darker. Let me see if I can move this in a little bit so you can just see the detail that's going on. I'm working a little bit on the hood. And then there's an obvious kind of darker line that goes on top. And it goes around almost like 3/4 of the way. If you're zooming in, you can see then it kind of just branches out. Now, what would be really cool, you know, this would take some time, is to try to connect your lines, you know, like look at this one going and then going into, you know, another line. So that also helps give it some, just a little bit more harmony and makes it more cohesive. Okay, so up from this dark line, we have another one. And then we have some that are just kind of like trailing off. And underneath, we've got some that are crossing. And we have another sharp line that is going this way. And it goes into that deep area. Okay, so now if we zoom out, you can see that that gave me a lot more detail in the eye. Oops. Oh, it's hard to get it back to where it was. Okay. All right. Okay, So I'm going to work a little bit on the ear. The ear has a slightly different treatment. It doesn't have wrinkles. It has just some gentle folds. And really, it's just spaces that are almost like a middle tone. Some of them almost stay white, and they get deeper, of course, as you go towards where it folds. You know, you've got just a few ridges that appear here and there. Almost has the feel of like the back of a leaf. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Like we're seeing some almost white segments surrounding the darker segments. Okay, so now over here I can go darker. And it's really cool, the little kind of the sharp edges that you're getting here. So I'm actually using the tip of the pencil to get a lot of sharpness. See, now I'm more confident. I have a lot more shape, so I'm actually going pretty dark. Okay, move this a little bit so we can work on the front leg. Okay, so this is almost where you're seeing like, you know, like a crosshatch. So what I'm going to do, and for those of you just joining us, a crosshatch is when lines, you have horizontal lines, then vertical lines, and they kind of make like a weave. So kind of something like this. So again, when you do this, make sure that they're directional. So we do see lines coming in this way, and then they go this way. And up here, we're kind of seeing them cross. And what I like to do is I like to take a few and just kind of highlight them. Move this closer. Just kind of take a few and just pronounce the shape that they are giving. You know, and again, this is about, you know, looking at an area that you like and decide how to play it up. So again, I'm going to darken this area. Okay. And then down here at the leg, you start seeing some verticals. And then some over here going in all different directions. Just that's kind of a fun area to work with. And anytime you see something that is slightly framed or outlined, you can do it. Add that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to work a little bit more on the texture of the trunk. We do see some lines are vertical. And, you know, with this guy, it's all about the direction of the lines. That is the one thing that's going to make these wrinkles and folds look realistic, look convincing. I'll work a little bit on the tusk. The tusk almost has like some patchy areas. And again, I'm gonna go way darker in here. You see, that's really bringing it out. Almost looks like he's smiling. Okay, back to the tusk. A little bit. And every time you go to an area, you are going to see something that you didn't see before. The one thing that you want to make sure is that, you know, your lines are not too calculated. They need to be kind of free. So I'm going to just darken this area here up a little bit. And this over here. I'm just going to lift this a tad. Again, I'm seeing new folds that I haven't before. And when you make the folds and when you make the lines and the wrinkles, you know, try not to make a very specific line. So start off your line and then just kind of play with it, feather it out a little bit and have it go into another line. You're going to get a much more realistic results that way. So I am looking at the time. We have about 10 minutes. Let's see. So I think this would need just a little bit more work. It depends on if you're going to draw the whole elephant or not, or if you're just going to kind of focus on the face. But I think, you know, since we don't have fur and we're doing a, you know, a profile, it's kind of less time consuming. See, again, when I'm putting in the lines, putting in and then trail them off. I see some here that I have not seen before. See, just keep them loose. Okay. So this is kind of where that is going. So one thing you can see with, because this is, you know, a graphite pencil, you are going to get a little bit of residue, and you can see it kind of on my hand. So, you know, just be mindful of that. You can always erase later on. So ideally, if I'm doing this just for myself, I wouldn't be that close to it, and I would have a little bit of distance, but just because of how the camera has to work. So, you know, just try to keep your hand off your paper. So let's go and see what everybody has, and if you have any questions. Okay. Okay, can they unmute themselves, or do you need to unmute them? Justin, do they have to unmute themselves? Oh, okay. So I think unmute yourself.
Okay. You can see.
Okay, let's see. Sharon, can I see yours?
Okay. Yeah, mine needs a little more shading.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you see that?
Yeah, looks good.
And then I have the legs in too.
Yeah.
I got everything in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm happy with my placement, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks great. Looks like an elephant. It's got a lot of that personality. Phyllis, how did you do? Wonderful. And Phyllis, I was going to tell you this would make a fantastic pastel subject.
Yeah.
I like pastels. It would be a lot of fun. Joanne, no pressure. You don't have to.
Well, I got a late start.
Okay, that's all right.
Drawing that I had to have
Okay.
drawing. I have a stand for my phone, so that's been kind of neat.
Okay. So I tell you what, if you want to work on it later, if you are no pressure, you can always send it to me.
I'll show you what I've done. I had a was working. Let's see, can you see it? I was working on the eye.
Okay.
Because the eye is so interesting. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I like personally the artwork that I have is all. It's not picture perfect. It's what is that called? Impressionist or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not really into like a perfect thing, but I think it would be good for me to learn how to do it, of course.
Well, because all of the paintings that you're seeing that are impressionist or abstract, they have to start with the perfect drawing, and then you break that down. So, because that's the only way it can be strong, because, you know, you're taking away certain elements, and it takes a lot of practice too. But, you know, doing realistic academic things is the way that absolutely, you know, like even Picasso started. So, you know.
Van Gogh too. Van Gogh's first few years were very structured, you know.
Extremely realistic. You're right, Sharon. Very, very few people realize that. I mean, his portraiture was just amazing. Carol, how did we do? Oh, beautiful.
That's nice.
Really nice.
Really
Nice, Carol.
I
Jerry?
got pencil all over my hands now.
Yeah.
That's okay. Oh, wow.
Right, Jerry.
That looks amazing, Mom. That's my mama. Really good. I love it. You came back with a bang. Lucia? Oh, wow. Beautiful,
Wow.
Lucia, as usual.
These are really good, all of
They
them.
really are. I mean, and I
And,
was
oh my
prompted,
gosh, Nuera.
oh, Nuera, that looks amazing. That's my sister. Oh my God. She can teach the class when I'm unavailable. That looks fantastic. Edith, how about you? A little bit higher. Let's put it higher up.
Oh my God.
Wow, amazing. These are so good. Andre, how about you?
Where are you, Andrea?
Sit there.
Oh my
Ooh, I
God.
love it.
Wow.
I love it. Honestly, these are so good. So does anyone have any questions? Any specific questions? Anything that or observations that you think others can? Because to me, sometimes I realize that as much as I try to break down the steps, sometimes I forget that something might be new to someone. So if there's anything that you observed today that you think could be helpful to everyone else, if you could share that.
I just wanted to say that I think that they're fabulous drawings, all of them.
They really are.
Oh my gosh, I'm really, I mean, we're great, aren't we, girls?
Yes.
You know, I told somebody we were going to be doing elephants, and she said, "Oh, I love elephants." Everyone likes elephants.
So, you know, one of the reasons that I really am wanting to include more animals in our drawing sessions is that I was drawing faces at a very young age, human faces, which is really the hardest. It's the most complicated form of art, and I was doing it so well, and then people started asking me to draw, you know, paintings of their animals, and I just didn't know how, and I was so intimidated by them, as as polished as my skill was. And once I started working on them, I realized, you know what, they're really not that hard. I think you really have to look at the shapes and look at, you know, if you don't, you know, go as far as studying some of the anatomy, is just really trying to get a feel for the scale, the shapes, the texture. There's so much about an animal that makes it what it is, that is so easy to show very quickly. So they really are a lot easier. And I just think they're so much fun. I think there's just something really fun about drawing an animal, you know, any kind of animal. I think, and they make such beautiful gifts. So hopefully everybody's working on their gifting art to people this year, because I think that's what everybody needs. Really, I don't think anyone needs crap.
Can I just mention something? Can I mention something for Joanne? Joanne, I was in the same boat you were a few months ago. And you know, sometimes my drawings, I get off, or if something's misplaced, I start all over. I erase. I mean, I've been told that it's okay to erase as much as you draw. You know, just erase and erase until you get it right, and just, you know, work on it each day in between the classes, just to, you know, like learning a foreign language. You can't just do it once a week.
Yeah. I mean, no, really, Sharon, I'm glad you shared that, because Sharon kind of just started with us. So Sharon, these are classes that we were actually doing in person before the pandemic. And so some have been with me for years. And then there's some that just joined during this time, and Sharon is one of them. And she kind of just like jumped into it. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. But you know, just the attitude she had was just incredible. And do you have the London painting close to you?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, this is so beautiful.
I don't think it's so great, but you do. Okay, I got it. One second.
I decided.
Oh, here we
I
go.
think it's so fantastic. And, you know, she emails me with different, you know, she'll try different approaches sometimes with things, because, you know, she's developing an idea of how she wants things to look. Isn't that fantastic?
That is really lovely.
Wow.
It's so pretty.
Right.
It's,
Yes.
I love it. I mean, I would hang that in my house. It's beautiful.
I love the outlining with the black ink. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And
You could even do that with this elephant too, couldn't you?
well, I don't know if it would work over the pencil.
Oh, okay.
It might, yeah. It works
the watercolor, okay.
because watercolor becomes one with the paper, so it does work. But
okay.
I mean, I think that, you know, it would be, you know, that's kind of, we did this type of thing over watercolor last time.
Right,
And,
right. The dark lines.
Over pencil, I don't know. It might slide right off of it, so you can give it a try.
Okay.
Okay. So, and Susanna is not here today. It's her birthday, and
How nice.
I was hoping we could sing happy birthday. But she got herself a new computer for her birthday, so I think it's being installed. So, anyways, so, you know, please email me your drawings. I would love to see them up close. Joanne, I hope you will join us next time, and I hope everyone has a great week. If you have any questions at all, or any remarks, observations, or any ideas for our drawing class, I always welcome them.